Now I changed the title just slightly to make it a little more direct. As we read through the Bible and study the history of God's people, we see that the majority of the time they were worshiping idols. And we see that most of God's people were worshiping idols. So what could we think about now? That idolatry is no longer practiced? I don't think so. I don't think that would be a very wise conclusion for us to come to. And I've entitled it, The Most Frequent Sin of All Time. And it's amazing how much the Bible says about it. We can only scratch the surface in regard to a few of the things that God has said about it. In Deuteronomy, the 5th chapter, and of course very similar in Exodus 20, verses 7 to 9, give us the first two commandments. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. Now, a person that's not very familiar with the Bible, they may think, wow, that's a selfish thing. God wants to be the first one, and he's not willing to share with anybody. He wants it all. But you're going to find, as we look at some of the text, why God said that. And it was for us, not for him, that he said this. And then the second one is very connected with it. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. It's kind of like summing up everything. Don't make anything. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God. As we look at the bowing down, of course, there are ways to bow down without physically bowing down. And so that's what we want to at least end up looking at some of that. But it's interesting, in the chapter before, it gives a bigger list. But before we get to that, I want to give you one of the definitions of worshiping a God. How are we going to recognize whether we're worshiping another God other than Jesus or the Father or the Holy Spirit? Of course, all three are worthy of worship. Jehovah, the eternal, self-existent, uncreated one. Just think about that. Eternal, he has no beginning, no ending. Nobody brought him into existence. He was self-existent. Nobody created him. The difference between that God and any other God is so vast, it's hardly worth thinking about. Himself, the source and sustainer of all, is alone entitled to supreme reverence and worship. So he created all of us, and he sustains all of us. Don't you think it looks a little bit stupid to serve some other God when we have this option? And then it gives three definitions. Number one, man is forbidden to give to any other object the first place in his affections or service. If something other than God has first place in your affections, then you're serving a God, another God. if when we look at your service and see what you're serving, what you're spending your time with, we can see whether you're serving another God or serving the true God. Second one, whatever we cherish that tends to lessen our love for God. So is there anything in our life that lessens our love for God? Then that's an idol. Number 3, or to interfere with the service due him. Of that do we make a God. Now, I don't remember when I first heard it, but someone said the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so many times we want to do better, but we don't get around to it. And something else takes up our time that's supposed to be used in service to him, supposed to be used in thinking about him and cherishing him and all of these 3 things. And we'd like to do it, but somehow we don't get around to it because the idol is taking the precedence. Now, when we look at this definition, we can easily see that there is more idolatry today than there has ever been in the Israelite history or any other time of Earth's history. Now, to really help them, because back then it seems like the big problem was having a literal idol and bowing down to the idol. So before Moses reports the 10 Commandments, in the previous chapter, he says this. Deuteronomy 4:15-19. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female. Here God explains, why didn't I show myself to you? Because the first thing you would do is make an idol that you thought looked like me. And then you would bow down to that. So I didn't even show myself. I just spoke and gave you those 10 Commandments. Then he really gets down to the detail. Says the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun, and the moon, and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them. It's one way of saying everything that you use to worship has been specifically said by God, don't worship it. Very interesting. He wanted to make sure, because they were coming out of a degraded position. They didn't really understand much about God. And so he spelled it out very carefully. And the only option the devil had was to keep them from reading it, keep them from learning it, so that they would be aware of even the specifics. And by the way, God has done the same for us today. Every single idol has been specifically addressed in the Bible or the other instructions that God has given. The second commandment, so now we're going to take a look at the second one, which goes very closely together. Forbids the worship of the true God by images or similitudes. So if someone has a little statue of Christ on their dashboard, and of course they always will say, well, we don't worship the image, that's just reminding us about Jesus. That was forbidden because God did not reveal what he looked like, and he had a purpose in it. Many heathen nations claimed that their images were mere figures or symbols by which the deity was worshipped. But God has declared such worship to be a sin. And so we don't want to have anything to, remind us of or to help us worship him. And then again, it gives three interesting insights. The attempt to represent the Eternal One by material objects would lower man's conception of God. Now, really, it should be a no-brainer, as they say. If you made it, or some human being made it, it cannot represent God, because he's way above all that. So if we were to use those things, it will lower our conception of God. And that's a serious problem. Number two, the mind turned away from the infinite perfection of Jehovah would be attracted to the creature rather than to the Creator. Now that one fits our modern idols as well, because whatever it is that's taking up our time that belongs to God, it is attractive enough to us that it's hard to turn back to God or to take proper time with God. But again, that's lowering our eyesight and our blessings that could be coming to us. And the third one, and as his conceptions of God were lowered, so would man become degraded. So that's what Satan wants, to degrade man.